There are a bunch of racing games released on the market. Some were good, while some were strange. Same goes to shmup. Some were good, and some were just outright, what is this? So, what happens when you combine both genres together? Well, you got this. Kingdom Grand Prix is an arcade game developed by Rising, released on September 1994 for the arcade. Rising is famously known for their hit title Battle Garegga and Gran that were released 2 years later in 1996, but our main focus here is a game that was released 2 years prior. Once you insert the coin, you can choose any of the 8 available races, and apparently Miyamoto is proclaimed by many to be the best in the series, but I will have my own choice. Don't tell me what to do. It's lights out and away we go. First thing you will notice is that everything moves in a vertical direction, which means your vision will be under your eyesight, easier for you to pay attention to everything on the screen. You got 2 buttons for basic movement like the fire and bomb button, and of course your trustworthy joystick, being an arcade game. But here's the twist. Seeing that this is a combination of racing and shmup, Rising added a new feature to the button. By holding down the fire button, you can gain momentary boosts to reach maximum velocity, which plays a very crucial role for your entire race. Not just that, your character's speed is also decided by the position on the screen. Here's how it works. If you stay at the top of the screen, you move faster. Stay at the bottom and you go slower, vice versa. All of the action can be seen at the speedometer on the bottom left. Yada yada yada, you know the drill. Any contact with the wall will not harm you either. You can bounce off the wall, glide along the wall, or hit them from head on. Nothing is gonna happen to you. Unlike other notorious shmup that punish you if you ever touch those illegal walls. Hashtag, walls are bad for you. But be careful though, they can still slow you down, which is not good for your race. Speaking of the race, you and other 7 rivals, well 6 if you play with co-op, compete in the pinnacle of Kingdom Racing across different areas to be crowned the world champion. You and the other 7 rivals compete in a ding-dong battle, trying to stay ahead of each other without making crucial mistake. Every time you slow down, you are running the risk of being overtaken, which you can see on the map. Sometime when they fly ahead, you probably want to try stopping them. Well, you can, by dropping your bomb within their range. If you do that, you can make them drop behind you. That's it. It's that simple. There's no race director that will investigate the unsafe manner and certainly won't give you 5-second penalty. Unless your name is Esteban Ocon. You can also be physical enough by bumping off them away. There are a total of 12 stages separated by branching pathways in which you can only access 6 at a time. Every time you cross a checkered flag, you will be prompted to select either of the 2 locations for your next level, whilst the final level provides you with 3, further adding more replayability and reducing repetitive nature. Each locations have varying backdrops to them that represent the fantasy nature of the game. At the beginning, you fly across the city, which I assume is the main hub world of the game. Then the next thing you know, you are flying at the exotic yet not safe ocean, and later on, flying in someone evil castle, etc. That's all you do. Win the entire race, collect the most points across the 6 brutal rounds to be the world champion, and you will unlock the second loop, in which you will have to traverse every single tracks that you didn't explore in the first loop. There are 2 loops in the game, and the latter can only be accessed if you win the race in the first run. For a game that combines shmup and racing, I mean, it's a really good game either. I mean, it's perfect, right? Like, I couldn't think anything wrong at all. No. For a game with a mixture of shmup and racing, the game have some serious flaws. First up, not only you have to finish ahead of your opposition all the time, but you also have to survive the onslaught. Scattered across each stages are a bunch of tiny enemies, and they would not hesitate to open fire at you. Oh, you might be thinking, oh, it's just a shmup, shoot everything away, simple as that. And while you're right, remember the maneuver you have to perform earlier? You have to stay above the top half of the screen in order to maintain top speed. All the time. And then, the enemy also come from the top. See the problem right now? Call me skill issue, but how am I supposed to dodge everything at the same time? Don't forget, the later level becomes more narrow, reducing your space for maneuverability, making things even worse. Try to tell me that I can make through the entire place with a straight face. I bet you can't. Second problem is that none of your 7 rivals seem to be affected by the barrage of enemies, ever at all. Yes, sometimes they will be hit by the projectiles and drop back, but those are far in between. Most of the time, the rival lingers for like few seconds before running away unscathed. I have observed my entire playthroughs and noticed that the enemies were never fully targeted on the rivals apart from me. Every stages also have a boss you need to beat in order to reach the finish line. And guess what? None of the enemy seem to be bothered by them. It becomes a problem when you are fighting for the lead, but the boss delays your time and you watch helplessly at the rivals laughing at you. Imagine this in Formula 1. You are competing with 19 other drivers, but then suddenly you have to be a taxi rider, picking up someone to their destination before you can resume your race. Why? And here comes the third problem. Just like any other game from Rising, there's also a ranking system. AKA, if you play better, the game will actively sabotage your run by making things hard. Kinda like gambling. Here in Kingdom Grand Prix, if you move at minimum speed, which you think should be logical, well, the game becomes slightly more difficult. Enemies will fire more bullets at a quicker speed, and more number of enemies will appear. Regardless of which loops you are, the amount of items you collect will also increase the rank. And the only way to lose it, to lower it down, to make it slower, is by losing your life on purpose. You have to actively run into the bullets, which is what most players do in Rising games. So basically, you move fast and you will get hit right away. You move slow and the game will be tougher. Pick your poison! It's as if Rising is doing everything they could to force players to use as much as continue, making 1cc impossible. Yes, arcade games are always predatory, but in the case of Rising, this went too far. You literally have to play the games their way, or else you will face the consequences. And that's my review on Kingdom Grand Prix. A really fun mixture of two genres. On one hand, it's a fun racing game where you try to compete for the leads, and on the other hand, it's a fun shmup that was designed pretty well. The power up you pick, the different characters you pick, and the stages you pick all are pretty good. To be honest, I love the thrill of racing and try to deflect every enemies from my side while trying to compete for the ultimate title. However, the game was bogged down by 3 crucial problems. The fact that none of the enemies, rivals, were affected by the enemy onslaught, the fact that I'm the only one that have to deal with everything, and the fact that the enemy would just target specifically me, and the fact, of course, eventually, that the game has a dumb ranking system that punish you if you decide to play well. And when you think about it, the game just failed to combine both genres together. The developers just failed to understand what they were trying to accomplish. Like they want to make the player race for the lead, while at the same time they want to make the player shoot at everything. It's hard to multitask between two sites. It's hard to focus on everything. It's hard to try to complete one objective when you try to do the other objective. Call me skill issue, but come on, I think you can see the problem as well. That's all I gotta say for this video. If you enjoyed what you see, be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so that you won't miss a thing. Comment below your opinion on this game. Do you like it? Do you hate it like me? What do you think about the shmup racing genre? Do you think it's a mess? Do you think it's okay? Do you think it's a bad thing to add a ranking system in shmup? Let's have a peaceful discussion. Unfortunately, this is a terrible disappointment.